What is this Kuki Muvanlai Accord? Disclaimer: this article is an independent report prepared for informational purposes only. Zalengam media neither endorses nor opposes any political demand, organization, or government position mentioned herein. All content is drawn from open sources including NDTV, the New Indian Express, the Hills Journal, Wikipedia, and public statements circulating in community and media forums. Across Kuki-controlled territories, roadside posters have appeared in bold letters, issuing a warning that resonates through the hills, a 60-day ultimatum. The message is straightforward and uncompromising. If the demand for separate administration is not announced, or if at the very least talks do not begin within the allotted time, every Manipur signboard and nameplate will be removed from the region. The ultimatum has transformed the atmosphere in the hills. Villagers, students, and volunteers wait in silence, watching the days tick down. For now, the mood is restrained. There are no mass protests, no marches. Instead, there is a tense stillness, like the quiet before a storm. Thousands have become silent spectators, their patience holding only because of a fragile belief that the central government will act. That belief has been tied to what many within the Kuki community call the Muvanlai Accord. The phrase spread rapidly on social media, whispered in village meetings, and written into community pamphlets. It refers to an assurance said to have been given by the Ministry of Home Affairs that the issue of separate administration will be formally addressed in the next phase of political talks in New Delhi. Whether it is a written commitment, an oral assurance, or simply a narrative born out of discussions remains uncertain. But its symbolic value has been immense. It has served as a promise to the people. Wait, hold back, trust that dialogue will come. The story of the Muvanlai Accord is inseparable from the trauma of the past 2 years. On May 3, 2023, violence erupted across Manipur, tearing apart communities and displacing tens of thousands. For the Kukis, the events of that summer were more than just communal clashes. They marked the collapse of trust in the Manipur state government. Villages were burned, churches destroyed, and countless families forced into camps. Many Kukis came to believe that the state, dominated by the valley, could no longer guarantee their safety or their future. It is in this context that the call for separate administration intensified. Posters in the hills today are not only ultimatums, they are a reflection of the belief that survival itself requires separation from the state system centered in Impul. Critics of the Manipur administration argue that governance now exists only in the valley, while the hills are effectively self-administered through community structures. In their view, the two regions already function separately in practice. The demand is only to formalize what has become the ground reality. The Ministry of Home Affairs has engaged with Kuki representatives multiple times since 2023. Reports in NDTV and the Hills Journal indicate that officials, including Senior Advisor A.K. Mishra, listened to the demand for separate administration and acknowledged the need for structured dialogue. But no binding commitments were given. In this vacuum, the narrative of the Muvanlai Accord filled the gap, spreading virally and becoming a symbol of hope. The ultimatum posters now act as a countdown clock for that hope. Each passing day tests the patience of the community. If Delhi convenes talks within the 60 days, it will validate the faith placed in the Muvanlai Accord. If not, the symbolic act of removing Manipur signboards could trigger confrontation and deepen divisions. The demand for separate administration is not without precedent. Since independence, hill tribes in the northeast have repeatedly sought constitutional and political arrangements to protect their identity and autonomy. The Kukis were incorporated into Manipur under special provisions, including the creation of autonomous district councils under Article 371C of the Indian Constitution. But these councils lacked real power, serving largely as advisory bodies. Over time, frustration grew as the hills remained underdeveloped compared to the valley. By the 1980s and 1990s, armed groups had formed to defend Kuki villages and push for political recognition. In 2008, the government of India signed the Suspension of Operations (SU) agreement with Kuki armed groups. The SU was designed to stop hostilities and open space for dialogue, confining cadres to designated camps. While it brought relative calm, it failed to address long-term aspirations. Each renewal became another cycle of waiting. The 2023 violence shattered whatever patience remained. For the Kukis, the events proved that survival under the current arrangement was untenable. The call for separate administration transformed from a political aspiration into what many saw as an existential demand. In this climate, even an unofficial assurance such as the one described in the Muvanlai Accord took on profound importance. Valley-based groups, however, view the demand as a threat to Manipur's territorial integrity. They argue that granting separate administration would encourage fragmentation not only in Manipur but across the northeast. They also stress constitutional difficulties. Carving out a union territory requires parliamentary approval under Article 3, while granting stronger autonomy to district councils would require significant amendments. From their perspective, the Kuki demand is both politically destabilizing and legally unfeasible. For the Kuki people, however, these arguments miss the point. In their eyes, separation is already a lived reality. Government offices in the hills are often deserted, while community-based organizations run services and maintain order. The gap between valley and hills has widened to the point where the two systems barely interact. Separate administration, they argue, would only recognize this reality and provide a framework to ensure security and development. What exactly separate administration means is still debated within the Kuki movement. Some see it as a union territory with its own legislature, directly under the government of India. Others prefer a territorial council on the model of Bodoland in Assam. Still others suggest giving more powers to the existing autonomous district councils. The lack of a single vision complicates negotiations, but the unifying theme is that the current arrangement is unacceptable. The ultimatum strategy cuts through these internal debates by focusing on urgency rather than details. It sets a deadline for action, pushing the central government to respond before patience runs out. But it also raises risks. If the 60 days pass without progress, symbolic resistance could escalate into confrontation, undermining the possibility of constructive dialogue. Observers outlined 3 possible scenarios. In the best case, Delhi initiates talks before the deadline. Even without an immediate settlement, this would restore faith in the process and preserve the fragile trust created by the Muvanlai Accord. In the second scenario, talks are delayed with vague assurances, deepening frustration and empowering more radical voices. In the worst case, protests escalate, tensions flare, and the hope of negotiation collapses. The significance of the Muvanlai Accord lies not in its legal status, but in its role as a vessel of hope. For the Kuki people, it represents a belief that their suffering has been acknowledged and that dialogue is possible. For the government, it represents both an opportunity and a challenge. An opportunity to engage constructively with a wounded community and a challenge to balance competing demands in an already fragile region. As the deadline approaches, the future hangs in the balance. In the hills, the posters remain in place, counting down the days. Conversations in churches, markets, and homes circle back to the same question: will Delhi act, or will silence prevail? The answer will determine not only the future of the Kuki people, but also the stability of Manipur and the credibility of India's federal system. For now, the hills wait, and in their waiting, the word Muvanlai has become more than a phrase. It is a symbol, a fragile promise, and a measure of how much faith still remains. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe Zalengam Media. Also, please share this video.